A little girl, only 5 years old, lay quietly in her coffin. The next second, she suddenly opened her eyes. The funeral instantly turned into a scene of horror, sending everyone into a panicked frenzy. Someone help. The young lady has come back from the dead. Quickly, go inform Duke Herothos. The girl's heart sank. It couldn't be such a coincidence. Daphne sat alone by the window. Behind her, the maids whispered amongst themselves, "The young lady is so pitiful all by herself. The Duke is too heartless. I want to be nicer to her, but her temper is just too awful." Daphne suppressed her anger. As a noble evil dragon, she disdained to argue with these insignificant humans. More importantly, the person she was waiting for was about to arrive. Hearing footsteps, she quickly ran to the window, staring intently at the tall, blond man. It was the enemy who had sealed her in her past life, Duke Herothos Ligivian. What made it even more unacceptable for her was this man was now the father of this body. At this thought, she felt her dragon pride had been brutally trampled. She wailed and threw a tantrum on the floor. No, I absolutely refuse. In this world, there were once 5 great dragons known as the Fragments of God. They protected the human empire and were deeply loved. But Ceros, the dragon of calamity, was an exception. Wherever he went, life was devastated and no grass grew. All the races combined could hardly stand against him. Until the appearance of the hero Herothos, everything changed. After a long and fierce battle, Herothos pierced Ceros' left eye with an arrow. And this was his only weakness. In excruciating pain, Ceros was in disbelief. Why did this human know his secret? Herothos ultimately did not take his life, but chose to seal him for a full 1,000 years. When you awaken, my descendant will end your life. But Ceros was never resigned. What had he done wrong? Was it his fault to be born as a calamity? Yet when he woke up again, he found he had become his enemy's daughter. A week passed in the blink of an eye. The soul and body gradually merged. Daphne was finally able to move normally. She looked at her blonde-haired, green-eyed self in the mirror and pouted in annoyance. How do I look so much like that bastard? But so far, no one had noticed that this body now had a different soul. Even that man, on the day of her resurrection, had only glanced at her indifferently. Not dead. His tone even seemed a little disappointed. After that, he never appeared again. Even she, a dragon, found it strange. Don't they say humans value blood ties and family the most? How could this guy treat his own daughter even more coldly than a stranger? But there were more important matters at hand. This body carried the bloodline of the strongest sword saint, while the soul was still the supreme dragon of calamity. If she could merge 1,000 years of magical cultivation with the sword saint's bloodline, perhaps she could become an even more powerful transcendent being than before. A sly smile formed on Daphne's lips. When she inherits the position of family head and reveals her true identity, the look on that man's face will surely be priceless. I will become the head of the family and then destroy this family with my own hands. But Daphne soon discovered a problem. Back when she was a dragon, magic was branded into her soul. But now, the surging magic felt as if it were blocked by a dam, impossible to use normally. She quietly inspected this body. When she saw that her stamina was 10 and her magic was 0, she was completely dumbfounded. How is this possible? This is the descendant of a sword saint. Just then, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her chest and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. This gave her a fright. The maids heard the commotion and rushed in, scrambling to wipe away the blood and call for a doctor. It's just as we thought. Even though the young lady was resurrected, this illness still can't be cured. Daphne panicked. Am I sick? What illness? Is this body going to die soon? Then wouldn't my grand plan for revenge be over? Daphne recalled the sage she had met by chance decades ago. He claimed to be able to see the future and predicted that Ceros would become a worthless existence. This greatly displeased Ceros, who sent him flying to the other side of the continent with a single punch. It seemed now that fellow must have known the whole truth. She had to find him and ask him clearly. But for now, even surviving in this body was a problem. Daphne looked at the twin maids, Anna and Annie. What illness do I have? But the two looked troubled, hesitating to speak. Young lady, you don't like to mention the name of this illness. That's right. You even threw a vase at us when we mentioned it before. It seemed the original owner's bad temper had certainly left a shadow on them that I won't do that anymore. Don't be afraid. Tell me, what illness do I have? The two looked at each other. The black butterfly disease. Daphne recalled the World Encyclopedia of Diseases she had seen before. It recorded that the cause of the black butterfly disease was unknown, suspected to be a dark magic curse. A black butterfly-shaped pattern appears on the patient's body. When all four of the butterfly's wings turn completely black, it means death is imminent and there is no cure. But she immediately checked her chest and, sure enough, saw a butterfly pattern with one wing half blackened. But she frowned in confusion. If you only die when the wings are fully black, why did this body already die a week ago? She pressed the maids about her cause of death. But Anna and Annie recalled with confusion for a long time that we don't remember it very clearly either. We only remember that the young lady's condition suddenly worsened. Daphne found this very unusual. How could maids who cared so much for her not remember such an important thing? Could it be that someone killed this body and erased the memories of those around? A thought flashed through her mind. A dark magician. She suddenly understood. It seems from the curse to the assassination. This was a perfect plot against this body. Does the outside world know about my resurrection? No. The Duke ordered us to keep it a secret for now, because you might die again. Daphne gritted her teeth in anger. Good. At least she didn't have to worry about being assassinated again for the time being. But that guy is truly vicious. She could only vent her anger by furiously punching her pillow. Seeing this, the maids quickly comforted her that don't worry, young lady. The Duke has invited a famous doctor for you. It was the elf doctor, Teddy, from the Incite Mountains. Teddy arrived at the ducal estate, humming a little tune. He had long heard that the Duke's youngest daughter had an incurable disease. If it weren't for the high price offered by the ducal estate, he wouldn't have bothered to make this trip. Whether he could cure her or not didn't matter. Making a quick buck was what counted. He arrived at the door to Daphne's room. Just as he was about to push it open, a familiar and terrifying aura washed over him. His face instantly turned pale. What's going on? I haven't felt this kind of fear in decades. He pushed the door open with a trembling hand, only to see a 5-year-old girl standing at the door. And the spiritual pressure emanating from her body was unmistakably that of Ceros, the dragon of calamity. Teddy slammed the door shut. His face turned even paler than before. Why is that lunatic here? In the end, Teddy still submitted to the dragon's might, kneeling tremblingly before Daphne. As soon as Daphne dismissed the maids, he immediately adopted a respectful posture and began to flatter her. You must be Lord Ceros. Only you could emit such a powerful and terrifying aura. Daphne was quite pleased with this flattery. You've got a bright future, kid. Are you this body's exclusive doctor? Yes. From today onwards, Lord Ceros, I will be in charge of your treatment. Just call me Daphne from now on. Teddy carefully agreed. He was just a little curious. And why, Lord? Why did you become a little human girl? Daphne awkwardly averted her gaze, explaining that she wanted to experience life as a human. Teddy immediately had a realization that I see. So that's why you hid your magic. If not for the keen senses of US elves, I really wouldn't have noticed. Daphne quickly changed the subject that I have the black butterfly disease. Can you cure it? A strange expression appeared on Teddy's face. Are you sure? The black butterfly is not a disease, but a dark magic curse. As long as we find a way to break the curse, it can be cured. But Daphne was puzzled. This body was only 5 years old. Who could it have offended to be placed under such a curse? Teddy shook his head to be precise. It wasn't this body of yours that caused offense. He raised his hand and pointed to the aged family crest. It was the Duke. It turns out the Duke once killed a dark magician. Before dying, the other party placed a curse on the Duke to prevent the aged family bloodline from continuing. Daphne felt even more wronged. But why me of all people? Teddy's expression became subtle. It seems you don't know anything. It turns out that although Duke Horothos has 4 children, the first 3 are all adopted. Only the youngest, Daphne, is his biological flesh and blood. Daphne now understood this body is suffering from the backlash of the curse because of the Duke and is about to die because she's his biological child. The more Daphne thought about it, the more outrageous it seemed. I'm in this state and he won't even visit me once. On what grounds? That's because the Duchess passed away while giving birth to Daphne. Daphne was thunderstruck by this truth. This man was so selfish to be so cold to his own daughter just because he was shifting blame. She rolled up her sleeves. Ready for a fight? Let's go. Let's go beat up this piece of trash who's worse than an animal. Although Herothos is the Duke of the Aegean family, because of his commoner origins, he has always been looked down upon by a portion of the vassals. He was able to secure this position entirely thanks to his strength as the strongest sword saint and the title of hero bestowed by the emperor himself. Even so, the vassals still often clashed with him on political matters. At this moment, the atmosphere in the hall was tense. The Duke and his confidants advocated for opening the granaries to provide relief to disaster victims. However, a portion of the vassals, led by an earl, were firmly opposed. They believed it would harm the interests of the ducal estate, and even spoke with sarcasm. Your grace is so considerate of the commoners. You must not have forgotten your younger days wandering the streets. The Duke was silent for a moment. His well-defined fingers tapped on the table, signaling for everyone to be quiet. A while ago, the Marquis's engagement ceremony for his daughter was burned down. This was the commoners' protest against the noble's excessively extravagant lifestyle. His voice was steady, yet carried an undeniable force. If you wish to continue enjoying your wealth and stability, you will have to make some concessions. After all, the commoners don't have much patience. With a dull thud, his fingers had actually pressed a dent into the solid tabletop. To ease the tension, the vassals quickly changed the subject. The next agenda item is regarding the long vacant position of the Duchess. Before the words were even finished, the tabletop was crushed again by the Duke. Just then, the doors to the meeting hall were thrown open, and Daphne stormed in. Long time no see, Duke. Under the shocked gazes of everyone present, she struggled to stand on her tiptoes and grab a teacup from the table. She threw at the Duke. Unfortunately, the cup grazed his cheek and only hit the wall behind him. Daphne climbed onto the table and approached the Duke step by step. You selfishly brought this body into the world, causing me to suffer this curse. And you don't even take a shred of fatherly responsibility. It's too outrageous. The Duke, far from being angry, actually showed a hint of a faint smile. What's wrong? Are you resenting me now? You don't even have the right to resent me. I'm here to declare war on you. Suddenly, Daphne grabbed a nearby quill pen and quickly stabbed toward the Duke's heart. But the Duke, holding an inkwell, easily blocked it. Daphne used all her strength to issue her declaration of war to the Duke. I will absolutely not die. I will definitely survive, and then I will kill you with my own hands. After everyone had left, the Duke sat alone in the empty meeting hall, unconsciously stroking the quill pen. Marquis Singelin and Borin stood to the side, unable to guess what he was thinking. Because of the dark magician's curse, the Duke's emotions had been stripped away. Coupled with his naturally reserved personality, his emotions were rarely shown. But emotional indifference didn't mean he couldn't think. Daphne Aegean, the Duke's only blood relative, a child who took another's life at birth and couldn't escape the curse of an early death. She was ill-tempered due to chronic illness, often beating the servants for no reason. Eventually, the Duke confined her to a separate courtyard. She had originally died quietly, but unexpectedly, not only did she resurrect, she even staged such a declaration of war. After giving the Duke a good scolding, Daphne was in a cheerful mood. Seeing this, Teddy cautiously prepared to sneak away. Daphne narrowed her eyes. Are you trying to run away from me? How could I possibly leave the great Lady Daphne? I am willing to dedicate my life to you. It's just that I do have other matters to attend to. Besides, you're under a curse. There's no way for me to treat you. My butterfly wing is only half blackened. This means this body didn't die from the curse, but from murder. Teddy's eyes widened. Wait, you're not thinking of having me gather intelligence, are you? I'm just an elf. At most, I can help you contact the Intelligence Guild. I'm really powerless to do anything else. You're overthinking it. I want you to help me prepare some stamina recovering potions to slow down the curse's progression and help me build up my strength. Teddy confessed with a pained expression, "My lord, I'm actually an elf pretending to be a doctor, not a pharmacist." Daphne clenched her small fists and glared. Are you refusing me? No, I wouldn't dare. I'll do whatever you ask. Starting today, I am a pharmacist. Daphne smiled with satisfaction. Everything was ready. Now, all she had to do was wait for her power to recover. The maids, Anna and Annie, had been feeling that their young lady was very strange lately. She hadn't hit anyone for a week. She no longer threw things at them, and the way she spoke had become old-fashioned and mature. Today, she even went to the training grounds alone, forbidding them to follow. Could she be trying to get the Duke's attention? In the training grounds, Daphne found a secluded corner, preparing to create a magic core for herself. All things in the world have magic, even human babies are no exception. But her magic was zero, obviously due to the curse. What she needed to do now was to draw out the magic branded in her soul. Daphne took out a magic stone and swallowed it directly. Instantly, a searing pain swept through her entire body. She curled up into a ball, enduring it with all her might. She slowly guided the crystal's energy to break through the magical blockage in her body. As time passed, she suddenly spat out a large mouthful of black blood. At the same time, she could clearly feel that a tiny magic core had finally formed inside her. Her magic value changed from 0 to 1. Daphne was ecstatic. Great. If I keep training like this, I can continuously increase my magic. As expected of me, the great Ceros. She carefully collected the black blood, which contained the power of the curse, for future investigation. Just then, a stone hit the back of Daphne's head. Who dares to sneak attack me from behind? She turned around angrily, only to see a red-haired boy with his arms crossed, looking down on her. Why are you at the training grounds? What bad luck. Get lost now. It was the Duke's third adopted child, and Daphne's older brother, Iris Agent. Daphne scoffed. Are you done? Let's just consider that your last words. Iris was a little surprised, but continued to bully her, and no matter how much you struggle, you'll die sooner or later. You should just hide in your room and torture the maids like you used to. Who knew that in the next second, Daphne's fist had already landed squarely on his face. Iris stumbled to the ground, holding his face in disbelief. You dare hit me? What? You hit me first. Am I not allowed to hit back? How could you be like this? No matter what, I'm still your older brother. Daphne couldn't help but roll her eyes. I don't have a shameless brother like you. A long time ago, as a dragon who had always lived alone, Ceros had also been curious about what a family was like. He had secretly turned invisible to observe humans. He thought family was an existence where they would always care for and worry about each other, no matter what. But this brother before her, while she was on the verge of life and death, only had harsh words for her that I don't have a brother like you. Don't bother me in the future either. Iris laughed in anger that I never considered you family either. He walked up and pointed at Daphne's forehead. Wake up. You're a disgrace to the Agent family. But the next second, Daphne bit his finger. Iris cried out in pain that I see you're looking for a beating. That's hilarious. What can you do besides get beaten by me? Iris, furious, was about to strike when he was stopped by the arriving Knight Commander, Lloyd. What are you two doing? Lloyd separated the two. Not being able to beat up Iris thoroughly made Daphne very disappointed. But what happened next was beyond Daphne's expectations. Lloyd threw 2 wooden swords in front of them that, if you're going to fight on the sacred training grounds, you must use swords. You may begin. A spark of excitement instantly lit up in Daphne's eyes. Being able to settle this with a sword would be much more satisfying. The strongest evil dragon, Ceros, was tragically sealed, but his soul was unexpectedly transferred into a 5-year-old girl who had just died. Unexpectedly, this body's father was none other than the Herothos Duke who had personally sealed him back then. Just as he was ignited with the flames of revenge, he discovered that he was cursed and did not have long to live. In order to survive, Daphne tried every method to cultivate her powers again, only to be met with unreasonable provocation from her adopted brother, Iris. Iris looked at Daphne with contempt that you've never even learned swordsmanship. How could you possibly be my opponent? Daphne silently weighed the wooden sword in her hand. You're too stupid. Having a brother like you is simply a disgrace. If you're going to fight, then fight. Less talk, you piece of trash. The Knight Commander, Lloyd, quietly observed the two. Although Daphne was the Duke's only heir, she was seen as the family's disgrace. She beat maids, tormented knights, and caused trouble all day, making people despise her. It was said she even ran to the meeting hall to declare war on the Duke. The Duke had ordered Lloyd and the others to endure it, but what Daphne did was simply too much. This made it impossible for Lloyd to bear any longer. This time, he would let young Master Iris teach her a lesson. But in the next second, his pupils contracted violently. What's happening? The little girl who had never held a sword before, yet her stance for a straight thrust was so perfect. Decades ago, the evil dragon Ceros, transformed into human form, roamed the mortal world. He happened to meet an old man revered as a master of swordsmanship. At that time, Ceros was very arrogant. Humans, this thing called a sword, isn't it just something you swing around a couple of times? Who knew the old man would bring his staff down with a whack? Even if you were a dragon, You have no right to look down on my sword. Being hit by a human for the first time, Siros was a bit stunned. But the confidence and determination in the old man's eyes inexplicably attracted him. And so, Siros began to learn swordsmanship from the old man. The old man was extremely demanding about the details of every move, making him practice each one thousands upon thousands of times. Although it was tiring, for the first time, Siros felt a sense of fulfillment. It was as if his sweat and tears had meaning. He even began to enjoy this life. Between the man and the dragon, a deep but unspoken friendship was formed. Soon a year passed. When Siros came to the old man's hut, as usual, he found him still lying in bed. "Human, what are you going to teach me today? Stop sleeping in, get up." But what his fingertips touched was a cold stiffness. He looked at the lifeless body on the bed, frozen in place. "Are you dead?" he asked several times, but only silence answered him. Only then did Siros suddenly realize something he had long ignored. Human life is short. Didn't you say you'd wait for me to become a sword master? Tears slid down uncontrollably. He didn't even know what this strange, warm liquid meant that I don't even know your name yet. He built a small grave for the old man. On the tombstone, only one word was carved: human. That was also the first time he experienced that he was a lonely existence. For decades after that, Siros never went to the human world again. He hid in the mountains, practicing the swordsmanship the old man had taught him day after day. He tried hard to forget those memories with the human. Under Iris's shocked gaze, Daphne raised the wooden sword high, executing a flawless vertical slash. "Don't look down on me, you foolish human." Her aura, her stance, her gazero, all were perfect. Just as the wooden sword was a mere centimeter from Iris's head, Daphne's movement suddenly halted. The next second, she fell down stiffly. Everyone was stunned. What on earth had happened? Only Daphne herself knew. Her stamina was only 10. That last strike had completely exhausted it. Iris's voice trembled. "Commander, was what I just saw real? Have you ever seen a 5-year-old child with such a perfect sword stance?" He couldn't believe it. A child who had never held a sword, who was naturally weak, had movements even more standard than his own after 3 years of hard practice. Could this be bloodline? He suppressed the grievance in his heart and had someone send Daphne back. He gripped the sword in his hand. "From today onwards, Commander, you will teach me personally. I absolutely cannot be surpassed by that little girl." After sleeping for half a day, Daphne finally recovered. Facing the maid's all-encompassing concern, she was already used to it. She also hadn't expected that she would faint from exhaustion just by swinging a sword once. When she was a dragon, she never knew what the word exhaustion meant. Just then, the Knight Commander, Lloyd, came to request an audience with Daphne. She thought for a moment. Although she didn't like the commander, he was at least one of the stronger people here. It was better to see him. Lloyd got straight to the point. "Miss, have you learned swordsmanship before?" Daphne shook her head. At least, this body hadn't. Lloyd was extremely shocked. Could it really be talent? He quickly asked Daphne if she had any plans to learn swordsmanship. Daphne shrugged helplessly. "Of course I want to, but you've seen how poor my health is. I fainted after swinging the sword just once. By the way, do you know how to improve stamina? It's simple. Just keep running." "Really?" But Lloyd's tone changed. "Even so, it might be dangerous for your body. You already possess a talent like a flower, but the vase that holds it is cracked. Maintaining the current situation is the top priority for now." Lloyd's eyes showed regret. "What a pity. You could have inherited the Duke's legacy." After Lloyd left, Daphne clenched the blanket, fury surging in her heart. "He actually wants me to inherit that bastard's legacy. How dare you compare me to him? Do you think I went through all this trouble just to follow in his footsteps? I will surpass him, even if this body completely breaks down." Soon, Daphne started running. From fainting before completing half a lap at the very beginning to now being able to persist even after running 3 laps. Half a month passed. Her stamina value finally rose to 30, and her strength also increased from 1 to 4. Daphne was very satisfied. This was much smoother than she had imagined. If things continued to develop like this, she would soon be able to get her revenge. Of course, the potion Teddy made for her was a great help. Lloyd saw Daphne's efforts, and his impression of her changed greatly. "Miss, you have been running persistently for half a month. Since you started training, the morale of the Knight Order has also improved significantly. I'm happy and grateful for this." Daphne wondered what this had to do with her. Miss, although you are weak, you still persist in training. The knights have all been inspired. Even the training atmosphere is much better than before. Only then did Daphne notice. Compared to when she first arrived, there were indeed many more people training here in the early morning. Miss, do you want to become stronger? Hearing Lloyd's question, Daphne stopped in her tracks. Of course. Why else would I be doing this? Lloyd gazed at the girl's unyielding appearance. Only a few people know that you are cursed, Mississippi. Even Master Iris thinks you have an incurable disease. You will continue to endure this pain and loneliness in the future. Lloyd knelt on one knee and looked directly into Daphne's eyes. Miss, please don't give up. Perhaps it's rude of me to say this, but I still hope you can overcome it. You're so long-winded. Daphne's face was brimming with confidence. I've said it before, I will become stronger. I am someone who doesn't know the meaning of giving up. A great being. However, she soon gave up. On her 16th lap, she collapsed again from exhaustion. At that moment, a wooden sword was thrown in front of her. It was Iris. Giving up so soon? Get up and duel with me. We didn't finish our match last time. Let's have a proper fight this time. Daphne flatly refused. Can't you see I'm exhausted right now? You know my stamina is poor, yet you still challenge me. I don't have the energy to mess around with you now. Just go. But Iris didn't want to leave. Isn't your health much better? It's only a little better. I haven't reached my goal yet. Daphne pointed at Lloyd, who was nearby. If you want a duel, find someone else. But Iris was set on her. No, you have to fight me. Even just sparring with me for a bit is fine. I don't want to. Don't you understand? Iris got anxious. In his desperation, he finally told the truth. I just want to see your sword stance. Daphne was taken aback for a moment. Then a playful smile appeared on her face. You should have said so earlier. If you want to learn, you can just ask me to teach you. Why find an excuse to duel? She winked playfully. Come on, let me hear you call me teacher. The short-tempered Duke's daughter's personality changed drastically after being possessed by an evil dragon. From a weak and sickly girl, she transformed directly into a sword master. Even her brother Iris, who had always treated her coldly, couldn't help but be captivated by her clean sword forms and awkwardly wanted her to demonstrate her swordsmanship. Daphne saw through his little scheme at a glance. If you want to learn, just say so. Let me hear you call me teacher. Iris instantly turned red, but stubbornly retorted, in your dreams. What is there for me to learn from you? Is that so? Then you can continue practicing with that terrible stance. If you don't correct it when you're young, it will ruin you for life. After struggling for a long time, his desire for a perfect sword form finally overcame his pride. Iris quietly squeezed out 2 words, teacher. Daphne deliberately pretended not to hear. Iris finally threw caution to the wind. Teacher, please teach me. Daphne laughed out loud. You should have said so earlier. Don't worry. An adult should, of course, guide a child's learning properly. However, under Daphne's guidance, the teaching did not go smoothly. Iris's movements were never standard. Daphne was speechless. Are you an idiot? You can't even learn this. At Iris's strong request, Daphne personally demonstrated for him. Seeing her perfect form as she swung the sword, Iris's eyes were filled with admiration. This kind of overwhelming, unsurpassed talent could probably only be explained by bloodline. He resolved to train hard. One day he would surpass Daphne. He was interrupted by a violent coughing sound. He saw Daphne suddenly vomit a large mouthful of blood. Frightened, Iris hurried to call a doctor. She was just fine. Why is she vomiting blood again? At this moment, Daphne suddenly remembered the elf, Dr. Teddy's reminder. The stamina-enhancing potion might have some side effects, such as feeling bloated. Daphne was so angry she saw black. Bloated to the point of vomiting blood? That idiot elf. The next morning, Daphne finally woke up. She was getting used to the feeling of fainting and waking up. She wanted to immediately find that idiot elf to settle the score, but suddenly felt her body was unusually light. She quickly checked her condition. She discovered her stamina value had actually risen to 50. It seems what that guy said was true. I'll spare his life for now. Daphne's confidence soared. She prepared to go to the training grounds to show off her skills. Unexpectedly, she was stopped by the knights. Miss, you just fainted for vomiting blood yesterday. You can't train so desperately anymore. Daphne's expression turned cold. How dare you lot stop me? The knights tried to persuade her earnestly. We are worried about your safety, Mississippi. If you insist on training, you'll have to kill us first. Unexpectedly, Daphne didn't stand on ceremony with them and directly pulled out a real sword to scare them. Just then, an arrogant male voice from behind interrupted the standoff. So you're going to defy the Count's orders? It turned out the Count's youngest son was going hunting and needed to requisition men from the Night Order. But Lloyd disagreed. How is the Count's son's hunting an urgent matter? The Duke has given orders that the Night Order cannot be mobilized for private affairs. Besides, the Vice Commander and I are assisting Master Iris with his training. We cannot leave. The man's face showed a sneer. Our young master is the heir with a noble bloodline. You wouldn't anger the Count for the sake of a bastard child, would you? Lloyd heard this and suppressed his anger. Daphne shook her head, unable to help but lament how lowly and pitiful humans were, oppressing each other for so-called status. She originally didn't want to interfere in this matter, but she noticed Iris hiding behind a pillar. At this time, the arrogant man was still relentlessly and brazenly belittling Iris's commoner status. Do you still not understand the situation, Lloyd? Once the Duke steps down, those self-righteous young masters and misses will all be kicked out. Even the only heir is about to die. You might as well find another way out. Are you finished? Daphne's sudden appearance startled the man. Miss, why are you here? Of course, I'm here to send you to your death. Are you done with your last words? Her icy words made the man panic. Iris held back his tears, but in the next second, Daphne's warm words swept away the gloom in his heart. Iris is a child of the House of Aegon. Even without blood ties, he is an existence acknowledged by the Aegon family. Daphne warned the man with a grim tone. If you still want to deny it, then go on. I will personally arrange a meeting for you with the Duke. This completely terrified the man, who repeatedly apologized and begged for mercy. But Daphne had no intention of letting him go. But I'm in a very bad mood right now. If a simple apology is enough for forgiveness, then what's the point of punishment? She pointed to the ground, her eyes fierce. Stick your heads in the ground. And so, a strange sight appeared on the training grounds. Several men were seen with their butts in the air and their heads stuck in the ground, obediently accepting the Duke's daughter's punishment. Lloyd silently gave Daphne a thumbs up, but inwardly, Daphne only found the status conflicts among humans quite ridiculous. But if anyone dared to bully the weak in front of her, she would never stand by and do nothing. Just then, Iris appeared, holding a bouquet of flowers. He handed them to Daphne with a red face. Please take this. But he awkwardly stressed that it wasn't out of gratitude, just to celebrate her recovery. Iris wasn't actually ashamed of his status as an adopted son. When his mother was alive, she always said he was the son she was most proud of. He had also always cherished the name Iris Aegon. But the malice from the outside world sometimes made him doubt his self-worth. And today, Daphne's unhesitating acknowledgement made him happier than he had imagined. He looked at Daphne, full of gratitude. Thank you. And don't do those crazy things anymore. Upon hearing this, Daphne was about to fly into a rage. But then she understood. He mistakenly thought she had vomited blood because of him. Daphne reached out and took the flowers. I'll make an exception and accept your apology this time. She pulled out a flower and gave it to Iris. Listen up. When a person does something wrong, they must apologize immediately, no matter who the other person is. Overcoming shame when admitting a mistake, the pride in apologizing, and the self-reflection to resolve not to repeat it. These things together form a person's pride. This is the foundation of the self. Don't abandon it for the sake of some pitiful self-esteem. Iris took the flower. You're right, but whenever I hear you lecture, I get inexplicably creeped out. Daphne's eyes instantly dimmed. In the years when she was known as the Dragon of Calamity, all beings instinctively rejected her. No matter what she said, all she got in return was rejection. I guess saying these things is meaningless after all, but I understand. I'm sorry. It was my fault you were put in a difficult position earlier. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future. Daphne's eyes widened in surprise. This was the first time someone was willing to accept her words. Seeing the two's relationship become harmonious, Lloyd and the Knights also felt very relieved. The miss is really different from before. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. After continuous training, Daphne's stamina rose to 70, and her strength also rose to 10. She could now engage in actual combat practice. Since last time, Daphne had been training together with Iris. Although, this kid is always chattering nonstop. It's quite interesting. Is this what they call resonance? Lady Daphne, would you like to try establishing resonance with an elf too? The poor elf is trembling all over right now. It turned out that because of the potion's side effects, Daphne was punishing Teddy by making him kneel. Teddy cried out that he was wronged. I already explained to you that there were side effects. You were the one who didn't pay attention. Originally, Daphne, seeing that the potion's effects were quite good, had planned to turn a blind eye. But this guy actually ignored her summons 3 times in a row. It was too much. It seems I'll have to learn summoning magic first. Otherwise, you'll just treat me like I'm thin air. Damn it, I'm being wronged. I was really busy. Only Teddy was left, shedding aggrieved tears. All you do every day is fight and kill. It's too barbaric. What did you say? Daphne shot a death glare at Teddy, who was instantly cowed. You heard wrong. That wasn't me just now. It was another fallen elf inside me who said it. Daphne was speechless. Her tone changed. How about I cut off half of your source of life as a warning? Teddy instantly broke out in a cold sweat. The source of life is like a heart to an elf, helping the elf merge with nature. Once it's severed, they're rejected by nature and become powerless beings. He immediately hugged Daphne's leg and groveled. My lady, spare me. Any punishment is fine. Just please don't touch my source of life. Then hand over the magic crystals that grant you magic power. Increasing magic power through cultivation is too slow. I want to try using your magic power. Let's start with 100 of them. Teddy had no choice but to yield to her tyranny. Then, he took out a new potion as if presenting a treasure. This is a new potion I've concocted that can break your curse and restore your original power. Daphne's eyes lit up instantly. Not bad. Thank you for your praise, my lady. However, the duration of the effect is a bit short, about 10 seconds. Daphne was silent for a moment. She pointed to the ground. You can continue kneeling for me. Yes, my lady. The 5-year-old Duke's daughter appeared alone in the wilderness, walking straight towards the scene of a robbery filled with the glint of blades. This made the robbers very pleasantly surprised. Little kid, how about Uncle sells you to a fun place? It turned out that not long ago, in order to quickly increase her magic power, Daphne, under the guidance of the elf Teddy, had come to the Incite Mountains on the border of the ducal territory. This was also a place where elves gathered. Daphne felt the dense elven aura, preparing to begin her magic cultivation. She instructed Teddy to stand guard nearby. If my state of mind is disturbed, I might lose control and go berserk. Teddy agreed verbally, but couldn't help but grumble in his heart. Not only do I have to watch a dragon cultivate magic, I also have to act as a guard. If anyone saw this, they'd definitely think I'm crazy. He really couldn't figure out, even if it was to experience human life. Why would this great being choose to possess this little girl who was cursed and knew nothing about her family? No matter how you looked at it, it didn't seem voluntary. Teddy just felt that his fate was bitter. How'd I run into such a crazy dragon? It wasn't until dusk that Daphne slowly opened her eyes. Her magic power had grown from 1 to 8. The effect was not bad. Just as the two were preparing to leave, a shrill cry for help suddenly came from the distance. Help! Daphne's steps faltered. She looked in the direction of the voice. Teddy, however, urged her to leave quickly. Don't get involved in other people's business. Let's go back quickly. Daphne frowned in displeasure. You elves are truly selfish. I'm going to save them, but those humans have nothing to do with you. Daphne's eyes were firm, because that is my great mission. All things in the world are intertwined by cause and effect. Every cause has an effect, but how the scales of causality are weighed often depends on the process. For example, the gold dragon, a fragment of a god, even if it releases its breath on a whim and takes countless lives, causality will still lean in its favor, justifying everything as a good deed. But as for the calamity, the black dragon Ceros, merely because his essence is evil, he bore all the misunderstandings, accusations, and anger. Even so, the calamity still made its own choice. When Daphne arrived alone at the scene of the conflict, she saw a group of bandits robbing a merchant caravan. When the bandits saw this lone, well-dressed little girl, they planned to kidnap her and sell her off. But Daphne calmly scanned the scene, counting the number of people. A guard from the merchant caravan was fighting hard to block the bandit leader. He shouted at Daphne, "Kid, run. I'll hold him off." But in the blink of an eye, he was struck down. Daphne walked straight toward the bandits, took out the 10-second potion developed by Teddy, and drank it all in one gulp. Lowly humans slaughter each other and meet lowly deaths. But in the presence of the great Ceros, I absolutely cannot ignore it. The caravan members watched, dumbfounded, as this little girl who had suddenly appeared defeated 13 bandits in less than 10 seconds. And with a wooden sword at that. Although the child's behavior and tone seemed roguish, her movements were flawless. Looking at her golden hair and her unbelievable strength, the guild master walked up to the girl and tentatively asked, "Excuse me, are you Lady Daphne Agent?" Daphne glanced at him impatiently. "Who are you? How do you know me? The guild master's eyes filled with emotional tears. He tightly gripped her hand. I am Edhart, the guild master of the Golden Grail Guild. It is my honor to meet you, Lady Daphne. Thank you so much for saving us. We only survived because of you. Yes, if it weren't for Lady Daphne, we would have surely died. Thank you for saving us, Lady Daphne. The thanks from the members of the Merchant Guild rose and fell. Daphne was stunned. Are you saying thank you to me? The guild master shed tears of emotion. Yes, who else could it be but you? We will never forget this kindness. In the hundreds of years she lived as Ceros, even when she saved all the humans swept away by a tsunami, she had never once heard a word of thanks. But since possessing this body, this was already the second time. Could it be that because she was forcibly possessed into a human body, the reaction of causality had changed along with it? If she continued to live as Daphne, could she escape the fate of the calamity and live an ordinary life? The karmic fate that had plagued her for hundreds of years was broken so easily. She couldn't help but curve her lips into a self-mocking smile. Just then, Teddy came closer. My lady, I hate to spoil the mood, but you probably don't have time to be moved right now. What is it? That potion you just drank is actually a stimulant. When the effect wears off, before he could finish, Daphne suddenly spat out a large mouthful of fresh blood. In the Duke's office, Adjutant Polin was reporting to the Duke about the caravan robbery. At that time, the Golden Grail Guild was under orders to secretly transport a holy relic to the ducal manor, but they were ambushed in advance. It's clear the information was leaked. The only ones who knew the details were the guild master and the vice master. The guild master seems to know nothing about this. The Duke decided to personally interrogate the vice master. Polin paused, his tone tinged with disbelief. According to the guild master, when they were attacked, it was Miss Daphne who repelled all the bandits with a wooden sword. The Duke looked up, his eyes full of suspicion. But Polin has confirmed with the other guild members. The report is true. Why would she save them? The Duke muttered to himself, his confusion deepening. He ordered Polin to continue digging into the bandits' background, while he himself picked up the box containing the holy relic and left the office. Meanwhile, Daphne was trapped in a chaotic dream. She was still that fearsome evil dragon. One day, she saw a village being devoured by flames. She tried to use the water from a nearby lake to extinguish the fire, but it was just a drop in the bucket. She didn't dare use ice magic, fearing she would accidentally harm the humans. She could only circle above the village, repeatedly shouting with amplification magic, "Humans, come out of your houses immediately. I will protect you with magic." But in the end, not a single person was willing to come out. She looked at the village that had been reduced to ruins, and the bodies huddled together inside the houses. She suddenly realized that more than the suffocating, fierce flames devouring their homes, the humans were more afraid of her, the one outside who was seen as a greater calamity. These humans, who could have survived, all died because they were afraid of her. The despair in the dream washed over her like a tide. I can't save anyone. I am calamity itself. The scene suddenly switched. She was Daphne again. The merchants, who had survived the robbery, excitedly gathered around her. All of us survived because of Lady Daphne. We will never forget this kindness for the rest of our lives. The words of gratitude were so sincere, forming a sharp contrast with the lonely fate she had endured for hundreds of years. Just as she was about to say something, she woke up abruptly from the dream. She couldn't tell which side was the dream, but perhaps the chains of causality had already been broken. Daphne sat up and was surprised to find the Duke sitting by her bed. "You're awake." Daphne's mood instantly soured. "If you have something to say, say it. If not, get out." The Duke stared at her face and suddenly asked, "I've always been curious. Why has your tone of voice suddenly become so strange?" Daphne rolled her eyes, too lazy to respond. The Duke looked away. "Forget it. Just answer 2 questions for me, and I'll leave." Daphne spoke sarcastically. "Your daughter almost died, and after waking up, you don't even have a single word of concern, just straight to questioning. How interesting." The Duke's expression didn't change. "You said you don't acknowledge me as your father. In that case, I will treat you as an independent individual, not as my daughter. If you don't like it, then go back to being my daughter." Daphne felt disgusted listening to him. "Who wants to be your daughter?" First question, did you know the Chamber of Commerce was transporting the family's sacred relic? Daphne looked blank. The sacred relic is a gift from the dragons, passed down through each family for generations. If you want to see it, I can give it to you. Not interested. Second, why did you save those merchants? Because they were being bullied by bad people, so I stepped in and saved them. Daphne's matter-of-fact expression confused the Duke. You need to explain in more detail. Otherwise, the ducal family's investigators will cause you trouble. Daphne was impatient. Isn't it natural for the strong to protect the weak? Natural. The Duke savored those words. But just a few months ago, a maid was dismissed just for stepping on her shadow, and she drew her sword to threaten the head chef because her food was cold. Was that cold and ruthless young lady really the same person as the girl before him who spoke of the strong protecting the weak? Could coming back from the dead really change a person so much? But her curse was still there, and her body was no different. The questions are finished. Get lost. I'm going to rest. The Duke issued a warning. If you're plotting something, you'd better stop now. I've long grown tired of your past misdeeds. Thank for the advice. The Duke handed her the box containing the sacred relic. This is the White Lion's lamp. Turning it on while you sleep helps restore your stamina. Even if you don't want to look at it, you'd better. You earned this yourself. With that, the Duke left. Daphne sized up the sacred relic in her hands and couldn't help but complain. Coming to deliver something with that kind of attitude. Humans are truly hard to understand. A 5-year-old girl took down a dozen bandits in an instant with just a wooden sword. This astonishing news quickly spread throughout the entire noble social circle. In an underground casino where nobles secretly exchanged information, several lavishly dressed men and women were discussing the robbery of the ducal family's sacred relic in low voices. Has the Duke found a mastermind? Not yet. No matter how they're tortured, they can't get those bandits to talk. It's strange. There isn't even a single clue about the person behind it. But more captivating than the bandits' identities was the little daughter who defeated the bandit group. And as an eyewitness, Ed Hart, the guild master of the Golden Chalice Guild, naturally became the target of nobles scrambling for information. Ed Hart acted mysterious. My story is very expensive. Just then, a long-haired man in a cloak quietly approached and filled his glass. This is a 30-year-old divine grace wine. Could you please continue the story? With the fine wine down his throat, Ed Hart immediately opened up. It turned out the caravan had traveled safely all the way to the front of the Duke's territory. What's more, the accompanying guards were elites from the Opal mercenary group. Each one was a powerful combatant. The sword masters could even serve as guards for the crown prince. But such a lineup was completely vulnerable against the bandits. Just when I thought I was surely going to die, a child suddenly appeared and knocked all the bandits to the ground, using only a small wooden sword. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed it. And that child was none other than Duke Archean's daughter, Lady Daphne. Ed Hart then showed a worried expression, but right after she dealt with the bandits, she vomited blood and fainted. The accompanying elf doctor said she was just overworked. The nobles exclaimed in amazement. It seems that unruly young lady has really changed. After hearing this, the man's lips curled into an inscrutable smile. He left silently, walking out of the casino. He took off his cloak. His blood-red eyes flashed with a golden light. As expected, she never disappoints. Lord Syros. A few days later, a maid burst into the room excitedly. "My lady, look what I brought for you." But she saw Daphne lying stiffly on the floor. "Help me up first." Ever since she defeated the bandits, whether due to the side effects of the medicine or some other reason, Daphne was bedridden for 3 whole days with muscle soreness. Even so, her recovery speed was faster than expected. She looked at the sacred relic by her bed, the White Lion's lamp. Although she was reluctant to admit it, this thing seemed to be quite powerful. There must be something strange about it. I have to be careful. The maid handed her an envelope. "My lady, it's a ball invitation from Marquis Finch. This is the first one you've received in half a year." Daphne wondered why it had been half a year. "Don't you remember? Half a year ago, at a tea party hosted by Count Adele's family, you caused a huge scene. You beat up more than 10 children in one go. You even broke young Master Adele's nose." Daphne sighed helplessly. "I see. Put it away. That guy Teddy. He's gone missing again, using potion making as an excuse. I haven't been able to contact him for days. At this slow pace, when will I ever get strong enough to take revenge?" Unable to sit still, Daphne went to the training grounds again. She was about to cultivate her magic power when she suddenly noticed something shiny on the ground. It was a magic crystal. Seeing no one around, she snatched it up, planning to keep it for herself. But when she looked up, she saw another one not far away. "My luck is great today." She happily picked up 3 in a row. As expected, the great me has great luck. Unexpectedly, when she looked up, a figure was crouching beside her. Daphne reacted instantly, punching the person in the face. Who are you? Did you lure me here on purpose? No wonder it kept leading to a secluded place. The girl who was hit winced in pain. Although it was wrong of me to appear so suddenly, you can't just hit people. She stared at her warily. Who are you really? What are you doing here? The girl was taken aback, her eyes dimming. That's right. I haven't left my room lately. You probably don't remember me. She lowered her head, her voice growing smaller. Then she mustered her courage and shouted, I'm your sister. Daphne stared at the girl's aggrieved little face. You're saying you're my sister? Don't tell me you've even forgotten my name. My name is Bipella. As she spoke, she suddenly became lost in her own world. We really haven't seen each other in a long time. It seems to be getting harder and harder for me to interact with people. No one likes me anyway. Sometimes I even think it might be better to be forgotten, alone in my room. She suddenly snapped back to reality, eagerly looking at Daphne. But I came to you to ask for a favor. Can you let me meet your elf doctor? Bipella was already prepared for rejection. For this request, she had practiced her speech all night. Sure, I'll help you meet him. Daphne's agreement was too straightforward. Instead, it made Bipella feel a strong sense of unreality, because the Daphne in her memory was an out-and-out bad kid. Look at your hair color. It's like weeds. So ugly. I get annoyed just looking at you. Back then, Daphne would always find ways to humiliate her, as if hurting others was the most natural thing to do. She looked at her own dark green hair. Her mother had clearly said this color was beautiful, even though she was hurt time and time again. Bipella still followed her mother's last wish, wanting to take good care of Daphne. But every time she tried to get close, she was met with more intense beatings and scoldings. No matter how vicious Daphne was, Bipella endured it silently. After her mother's death, she was just a commoner girl who was lucky enough to be adopted. She was afraid of being hated and driven away. She just wanted to spend her life in this place where she could still feel her mother's presence. In the end, she locked herself in her room and stayed there for half a year. For this one chance to see the elf doctor, she had agonized for a whole month, even preparing herself to be beaten and scolded. But she never expected Daphne to agree so easily. Daphne looked at her dazed expression. What's wrong? Didn't I already agree? If you don't want to meet him, then forget it. Bipella reflexively covered her head. I'll meet him. I really need to. Please don't hit me. There was a faint, imperceptible sigh in Daphne's voice. Don't be afraid, I won't hit you. From now on, I won't hit anyone without reason anymore. After confirming it several times, Bipella finally felt relieved. Thank you. It turned out Bipella always failed when making potions. She heard that elf doctors were very knowledgeable about herbalism, so she wanted to ask for help. But Daphne was puzzled. When it comes to making potions, aren't dwarves more professional? At the mention of dwarves, Bipella became angry. It turned out that when she asked the dwarves for herbs, she always faced many difficulties. Each time, she had to do strange things to get the herbs in return. So she was very suspicious of the quality of those herbs. Mostly because she heard that elves don't lie, so she wanted to ask an elf to be sure. Daphne looked at the girl before her, thinking to herself, to start trying to make potions at such a young age meant her talent was very good. But she probably didn't realize it herself. It seemed she had already won the hearts of the dwarves. After all, if the dwarven race looks down on someone, they wouldn't even bother with them. The problem is that guy Teddy. Does he really not lie? You can meet him, but I have a condition. Tell me information about the Duke. That guy's weaknesses, things that could actually kill him, and so on. And also things about me. Tell me everything you know. Bipella was a bit speechless. Although it was nice that she didn't get hit, was it really okay to let Daphne become like this? On the training grounds, Daphne was running more vigorously than ever. Bipella's words echoed in her mind. The 3 children the Duke adopted were actually all brought by Daphne's mother. After their mother passed away, their relationship with the Duke became distant. The Duke, in order to carry out the Emperor's orders, had to leave the duchy twice a month during his busiest times. And the most recent order he received was to kill the Black Dragon. The calamity. The root of his death was the Emperor's will. So why did the Emperor want to kill him? Daphne stopped and looked up at the sky. Had he ever brought harm to this empire? Even though he was the calamity, he had always kept to himself. At least he hadn't committed any major mistakes. But why did they have to provoke him? Daphne gritted her teeth in anger. That bastard Duke. If he hadn't sneak attacked my left eye, he would have been no match for me. The flames of revenge burned in her eyes. Then I'll kill the Duke first, and then get rid of the Emperor. The ducal residence. and the imperial palace, I'll trample them flat. I'll crush all of you under my feet. The soul of the evil dragon Ceros was accidentally possessing the Duke's deceased youngest daughter. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed, but Daphne grew more and more worried. The original owner of this body was assassinated by a dark magician. Now that the news of her defeating the bandits had spread, those dark magicians must know she was still alive. What frightened her even more was the time the Emperor ordered the Duke to subjugate Ceros coincided with the time Daphne was assassinated. This was definitely not a coincidence. The elf Teddy was also surprised. Dark magic is a practice that worships Lord Ceros as a god. Yet they try to kill Lady Daphne, who you are now. It's simply too contradictory. Have you discovered something? Teddy couldn't hide his excitement. This kind of theme with past and present lives, tangled love and hate, is really perfect for a novel. My lord, you're a good lord after all. Daphne asked Teddy to find a way to help her get into the main building of the ducal residence. Because the separate courtyard she lived in was surrounded by many barriers, while the main building had no protection. If she appeared in the main building, the dark magicians would definitely make a move. Teddy also felt that the number of barriers here was suffocating. But even if we successfully lure out the assassins, we might still end up with nothing. Daphne also knew that even if she caught the assassins, the truth might still be shrouded in mystery. Just then, she suddenly thought of someone. That great seer who claimed to know the future and predicted that he would become a worthless existence. He must know something. Go investigate the great seer's whereabouts. Teddy pointed at himself with an incredulous look. You're not asking me to go, are you? My lord, you make such a difficult task sound as easy as running an errand for a neighbor. If I'm running around gathering intelligence, I'll have less time to make potions. I might not be able to deliver your medicine on time. Daphne's lips curled into a sly smile. Don't worry, I've already found an apprentice for you. Teddy had a bad feeling. It's not a human, is it? Correct. From now on, you'll be in charge of teaching that child how to make potions. Teddy didn't even think before refusing. Absolutely not. Even if I'm not even worthy of being your toe, I'm still a renowned elf. How could I possibly take an ordinary human as my apprentice? If that child is exceptionally talented, you won't have to make potions yourself anymore. After hearing this, Teddy's expression changed in an instant. Actually, I've been wanting to take on an apprentice for a long time. May I ask, what is the name of this child who is about to become my prized student? I will definitely train her to be the most outstanding alchemist among humans. Her name is Bipella. Do your best. Soon, it was the day of a ball hosted by Marquis Finch's residence. Early in the morning, Daphne was being dressed up by 2 maids. Gowns, accessories, and shoes were changed one after another. Daphne couldn't help but sigh. Can't we just dress up casually? Oh my goodness, my lady, what are you saying? You will definitely be the most dazzling one at the ball today. Daphne sighed helplessly, but she already felt tired. She heard this was her first public appearance in half a year. People's curiosity about her had probably faded by now. Maybe I should just show my face and slip away. Meanwhile, inside Marquis Finch's residence, the Marchioness was repeatedly instructing her daughter, Brisha. Brisha, when Lady Daphne Archean arrives, what should you do? I will go forward to greet her. When she's in a good mood, I'll offer her dessert. If she's in a bad mood the whole time, then I'll try to stay far away. It's safer to keep a distance than to get close and be beaten. The Marchioness nodded in satisfaction. Although she had repeatedly instructed her, she was still a little anxious. But this opportunity was truly rare. She absolutely could not miss it. The story of the young lady annihilating the bandits had long become a hot topic in noble circles. Everyone wanted to see her with their own eyes. The protagonist of the rumors, Daphne, but they didn't dare to approach her easily. After all, half of the noble children in the capital had been beaten by her, and Brisha had never met this young lady before. Since Daphne confirmed her attendance, the number of guests tonight was double the usual. The Marchioness prayed silently that no accidents would happen. As soon as the ball began, guests came over to ask when Daphne would arrive. Because the journey is long, she'll be a little late. But since she replied that she would come, she definitely will. Some people even turned down other invitations just to witness with their own eyes this legendary 5-year-old lady who defeated bandits. And see who she really was. Just then, a man walked over with a sneer. Do all the ladies present really believe this rumor? A 5-year-old child defeated bandits that even the Opal mercenary group had trouble dealing with? Isn't this just the guild master exaggerating? His words caused a stir of whispers. Many noble women began to waver. I heard that Lady Daphne is frail and sickly and seems to have an incurable disease. That's right. That must be why the Duke lets her do whatever she wants. Seeing public opinion turn, the man looked pleased. A child on the verge of death suddenly defeating a group of bandits? This is completely illogical. Recently, Duke Archean hasn't received any summons from His Majesty the Emperor. I suspect they're trying to deliberately create news to hype up this young lady. The Marchioness suddenly spoke up and interrupted. But that is just your speculation with no actual proof. The man smiled sinisterly. You're right, but can't we verify her abilities? Just then, a servant announced loudly, Lady Daphne Archean has arrived. Dressed in a white gown, Daphne slowly walked into the hall. She instantly became the center of attention. Everyone whispered, is that child Daphne? She looks even smaller than I imagined. The guild master's words were indeed just boasts. However, the noble women still wanted to go up and talk to her. Only Daphne herself looked bewildered. Why is everyone staring at me? It was the first time the girl possessed by the evil dragon had attended a human ball, but she felt a clear sense of isolation. Everyone was watching her from a distance, and not a single person approached her. Daphne frowned. It seems the bad reputation of this body's original owner is more deep-rooted than I thought. Daphne decided to take the initiative to break the stalemate. She wanted to get some information from the children her age. She proactively walked towards a group of 3 little girls. You few over there, what are you doing? But what she thought was a friendly smile was terrifying in the eyes of these children. The moment they saw her, their faces turned pale. Daphne was a little confused. Are they sick? At this moment, Brisha was the first to react. She quickly curtsied. Please don't be angry, Lady Daphne. My name is Brisha Finch. We were just too surprised. We didn't expect you to come over and greet us personally. We're sorry for not responding in time. She turned and gestured for the 2 girls still trembling behind her to apologize. It's natural to feel nervous and awestruck upon seeing you. Can you forgive us this once? The children reacted instantly, repeatedly begging for Daphne's forgiveness. This overly cautious explanation, however, was completely misinterpreted in Daphne's eyes. I see. Are you saying that because I am a great being, you feel fear and bow down to me? Brisha clearly didn't expect her to understand it that way. But in order not to anger her, she nodded repeatedly in agreement. Because you are the great Lady Daphne, it's completely natural. She attentively invited Daphne to sit down. The other 2 girls also brought her snacks and drinks. Please let us know if you need anything else. This treatment was quite enjoyable for Daphne. I'll have to show off properly when I get back. This pink-haired little girl is quite clever. I can make her my direct subordinate. Suddenly, a boy roughly pushed Brisha aside. Get out of the way, you nuisance. He swaggered up to Daphne and threatened, Daphne Archean, from the day you broke my nose. I've been waiting for this day. Today, I will have my revenge on you and show you what a real fight is. Daphne glanced at him lazily. Who's this? Is he one of the unlucky ones the original owner dealt with? She looked at Brisha, who had been pushed over, her brow furrowing slightly. Where are you looking? Don't think about sneak attacking me like last time. I heard you're a swordsman too. Then let's have a proper duel. He threw a wooden sword at Daphne's feet and continued to provoke her loudly. A villain and a liar like you knows nothing about honor. At this moment, in a hidden corner on the 2nd floor, Duke Braun was quietly looking down at the farce, a cold sneer on his lips. Duke Archean hasn't been summoned by the Emperor recently. He must be desperate, hence hyping up his own daughter, creating false rumors to gain attention. With just a little provocation, given this young lady's hot temper, she will definitely fall into the trap. And his son, Mark, as a prospective knight, can expose her bluff in public. All the heroic rumors about her will become a complete joke. Hello, Archean. You have only yourself to blame for this. Mark pointed his sword at Daphne. If you apologize now, I might just let you go. Otherwise, I'll teach you a lesson. Daphne finally rose slowly. It's obvious you'll just be knocked out by me in one move. Don't you even care about your own face? How utterly foolish. These words precisely stung Mark's pride. He instantly flew into a rage. I am a prospective knight. Pick up the sword. I'll show you my strength. I don't even need a sword to deal with someone like you. Bring it on. Mark roared and charged at Daphne with his sword raised. Daphne was seen pulling out a handkerchief. The moment the sword came at her, she gently dodged and wrapped it firmly around the body of the sword. Mark's eyes widened in shock. How is that possible? Daphne took the opportunity to snatch the wooden sword, grabbing his collar with her other hand. She leaned in and whispered in his ear, "You want to get close to me? You're 100 years too early, you brat." The next second, Mark fell hard. He lay paralyzed on the ground, muttering in disbelief, "Impossible." Daphne looked at him with disgust. "You actually pushed a little girl. So rude." This scene left all the guests dumbfounded. Lady Daphne defeated the prospective knight in a single blow. Duke Braun's face turned ashen. Could the rumors be true? Daphne walked over to Brisha. "Are you hurt?" Brisha was startled. She carefully took her hand. "I'm fine. Thank you for your concern." Her cheeks are flushed. Could it be that Lady Daphne fought for my sake? She looks so warm and kind. Not at all as terrifying as the rumors say. But Daphne sighed, a little tired. "If there's nothing else, go get me some refreshments. I felt a bit dizzy after that fall earlier." "Yes, Lady Daphne." Seeing the crowd with various expressions gradually gathering around, Daphne decided to leave first. She went to the rooftop to breathe in the fresh air. Being a popular dragon is so tiring. This body is also so weak, it's frustrating. She couldn't help but complain in a low voice. "This damn body. When will it ever get better?" But things are slowly improving, aren't they? Hearing a man's voice from behind, Daphne spun around abruptly. She saw a long-haired man elegantly bowing to her. A deep smile flashed in his eyes. "Long time no see, Lady Daphne. Or should I say, should I address you as Lord Celsus?" The girl was on the rooftop, contemplating life. Suddenly, a handsome, long-haired man appeared silently behind her. "Long time no see, Lady Daphne. Or should I say, should I address you as Lord Celsus?" Daphne became excited upon seeing the visitor. "Great seer, I've been looking all over the world for you." The great seer showed a punchable smile. "I didn't expect you to miss me so much, my lord. It's truly touching. Unfortunately, what you see now is just my illusion." Seeing her dream of beating him up shattered, Daphne suppressed her anger and got straight to the point. "Did you know all along that I would be stuffed into this body?" The great seer pretended to be profound, stroking his chin. "It's a long story, but I don't have much time. To put it simply, it's because Lord Celsus would rather die. That's why you possessed this human body." Daphne's fists instantly clenched. "Aren't you just stating the obvious? It wouldn't be fun if I revealed the mystery right now. However, I came to remind you. Be careful of those dark mages. They will be making a move soon." Dark mages were originally humans who worshipped Celsus as a god. To use dark magic, they burn their own life force to wield the power of death. Therefore, their power is limited and gradually dwindling. Daphne was dismissive. "Why should I be careful of such insignificant beings?" The great seer raised an enigmatic smile. "People will do anything when pushed to the brink. Once you find your original body, you will naturally understand the answer." Daphne hadn't expected that her dragon body still existed. Before she could ask more, the great seer's illusion began to dissipate. "Please take care. I'll look forward to our next meeting." Daphne wanted to chase after him, but after the illusion vanished, there was no trace left. She felt she had been toyed with. The dignity of the great evil dragon was being played with in the palm of a human's hand. "Fine, you great seer. I will definitely make you my #1 target for elimination. You just wait." Just then, the entire building suddenly began to shake violently. Daphne hadn't yet figured out the situation when she felt a dense aura of death gushing out from the ballroom. Recalling the great seer's recent warning, Daphne instantly felt something was wrong. The collapse caused by a powerful explosion sent the guests into a chaotic mess. The Marchioness appeared, weaving through the ruins in a panic. "Where are the children? We must save the children first." But a man roughly pushed her aside. "Get out of the way. I need to get out. I can't just die here for nothing." He grabbed a servant's collar. "Get me out of here now. Find me a secret passage with fewer people." Suddenly, a rock hit the back of his head. The man turned around in pain, only to see Daphne furiously questioning him. "You think only your life is precious? Disregarding others to save yourself. Didn't you hear everyone just now shouting to save the children first?" Her words left the man speechless and red-faced. Daphne turned, handing the rescued little girl to the Marchioness. "Take this child and go first. Be careful." The Marchioness nodded solemnly, picked up the child, and quickly left. Daphne continued to search amidst the chaos, sending the children to safety one by one. The aura of death was still spreading. There must be a source somewhere. I have to find the source before it collapses completely. Just then, Daphne smelled a pungent odor. A raging fire had broken out at the scene at some point. Thick smoke filled the air. The situation was getting more complicated. A little girl beside her was coughing nonstop. Daphne took out a handkerchief and had her cover her mouth and nose. Human children are very fragile. The slightest mistake, and they could suffocate from smoke. I absolutely cannot let them die here. She shouted to some adults who were escaping. Hey, this child over here is in bad shape. Get her out of here quickly. The person immediately responded, took the child, and rushed towards the exit. The fire grew larger, but Daphne's resolve only strengthened. She stood tall in the firelight. The weak must be protected. The great evil dragon Celsus, will definitely get everyone out safely. After tireless efforts, most people had already escaped the danger. Just then, the man who had taken the child out earlier returned. Lady Daphne, the rescue team will be here soon. You should leave quickly too. Come, let's get out together. Looking at his sincere gaze, Daphne gave him a dragon's approval. You've passed. You can go now. I need to go back in and check again. But my lady, you're injured too. Haven't you realized? The man was deeply moved. Such a selfless child who disregards her own life and death. Why did she have to suffer such criticism before? As a newspaper owner, he must make Daphne's noble deeds widely known. The next second, he scooped up Daphne and rushed outside. Daphne struggled hard. She hadn't found the source of the death aura yet. Just then, a faint cry for help came from deep within the fire. Daphne forcefully broke free from his arms. Without looking back, she rushed into the flames. The 5-year-old girl, Daphne, charged into the fire alone. She searched with difficulty amidst the scorching flames and thick smoke. I clearly heard a cry for help from here, just now. Where is it? Finally, she saw a huddled pink figure. It was Brisha. Daphne rushed over without hesitation. Everyone has evacuated. Why are you still here? Seeing Daphne, Brisha's tears instantly welled up. I'm sorry. My leg is pinned by a rock. I can't move. Don't be afraid. I can lift this rock. I'll count to 3, and you pull your leg out. Daphne placed both hands on the rock and, with all her might, finally lifted it. Brisha was finally free. She noticed Daphne's hands were cut by the rubble, bleeding profusely. Her eyes filled with heartache. Daphne casually wiped her hands on her skirt. This isn't the time to worry about that. Is there anyone else here besides you? As soon as the explosion happened, I evacuated the other children first. I wanted to come back for one last look, but I didn't expect to get pinned by the rock. Hearing this, Daphne looked at her with some surprise, her gaze showing approval. Not bad. You did very well. You're worthy of being the subordinate I chose. She extended a hand to Brisha. The entrance is blocked. Let's find another exit together. Just then, Daphne felt a dense and chilling aura of death. She stared intently at a table not far away. She slowly bent down and approached it. There was a box hidden under the table. She carefully took out the box. It was a bomb. Brisha was astonished. What should we do? Can we just dismantle it? Daphne's expression was grave. It's made with dark magic. It can't be dismantled. She felt the surging aura of death within it. Once it explodes, the entire Marquis's mansion will be turned to ash. The people outside and those who just escaped death would not survive. I have to find a way to deal with it here. Brisha's voice trembled with fear. Are we going to die here then? Who said anything about dying? What's there to be afraid of when I'm here? Suddenly, an idea flashed in Daphne's mind. Celsus's magic and dark magic both originate from the negative energy of death. These two powers are essentially almost identical. As long as I can handle the energy difference, I can absorb it and convert it into my own magic. That means this dark magic bomb is practically a delicious delicacy to Daphne. I'm going to detonate this bomb now. You stand far back. These words directly stunned Brisha. Daphne pointed to a blocked passage. The shockwave from the explosion will clear the rubble. You take that chance to escape. Wait, what about you, Lady Daphne? I must stop the explosion from spreading. Besides, for me, this might be an opportunity to increase my magic power. Daphne's tone was firm, a resolute light flashing in her eyes. She impatiently urged Brisha to get ready to leave. Ignoring any protests, she ran to the center of the hall alone, holding the bomb. But in Brisha's eyes, this was clearly a heroic act of self-sacrifice by Daphne to save everyone. And she did it so matter-of-factly, recalling how Daphne had extended a helping hand to her before. Braving the sea of fire to save her, Brisha was moved to tears. I can't let Lady Daphne die like this. Meanwhile, Daphne was fully focused on mobilizing her internal magic. magic. Let me turn this explosion into power. In the woods near a neighboring territory, Duke Archean swung his sword, cutting down the last magical beast. His adjutant, Bolin, examined the grotesquely shaped monster on the ground. The appearance of these magical beasts is unprecedented, because they're all chimeras forcibly fused together. The Duke wiped the blood from his sword, his eyes sharp. Only dark mages can perform such precise modifications. And these magical beasts are just the beginning. He was already deeply weary of these dark mages. From now on, leave the task of clearing out magical beasts to the Night Order. Bolin watched the Duke's back, feeling uneasy. The Duchess died at the hands of dark mages, and Lady Daphne's current condition is very poor. No one hates dark mages more than the Duke, who knows what kind of torment his heart endures beneath his calm exterior. Just then, a loud explosion was suddenly heard in the distance. Both men looked up at the same time, seeing thick smoke billowing in the direction of the Marquis Finch's territory. The Duke immediately sensed the magical vibration. His brow furrowed. It's the aura of death. The dark mages are moving faster than expected. Staring at the burning building, he suddenly remembered something. He then strode in that direction. The little girl found an extremely powerful dark magic bomb. The next second, she detonated it without hesitation. Amidst the deafening roar, the people outside the building were scared out of their wits. Then, they discovered in horror that 5-year-old Daphne was tightly enveloped by a surging, dark purple magical vortex. In reality, Daphne was desperately absorbing the dark magic energy from the explosion. But this power far exceeded her expectations. It was spreading faster than she could absorb it. Daphne was struggling greatly, her whole body trembling slightly from the strain. If not for Teddy's 10-second effective potion, she probably couldn't even hold on this long. However, the dark magic, like a raging tide, was battering her internal organs. The intense pain made her almost want to give up and release all the energy. But her reason told her she absolutely could not. If she let go, not only would this body be instantly destroyed, but everyone present would also be doomed. I just saved them. I can't let them die again. I am no longer a disaster. Since the karma of fate has already been broken, I will prove true kindness. This time, I'm no longer the me who couldn't save anyone. She gathered all her willpower, frantically absorbing the rampaging dark magic. Soon, blood seeped from the corner of her mouth, and the purple light in her eyes gradually dimmed. Not good. The potion's effect is about to wear off. Her consciousness began to blur. Just a little longer. Just a little longer will be fine. Just as she was about to collapse, a dazzling holy light tore through the darkness. The Duke appeared in the nick of time, long sword in hand. Wherever the sword's energy passed, the aura of death was instantly suppressed. Daphne stared blankly at the figure. The pressure around her suddenly vanished. Her legs gave way, but she fell into a firm embrace. Daphne, you did very well. You can stop now. The usually cold Duke's voice actually held a trace of warmth. Daphne struggled to lift her small hand. Her eyes filled with joy. The Duke's heart softened, but he didn't know that Daphne was actually staring at her magic level, which had soared to 50. She finally fainted in relief. On the other side, Brisha successfully escaped from the ruins and threw herself into the Marchioness's arms. Mother and daughter were overjoyed, hugging each other and crying. My daughter, thank heavens you're all right. Do you know how worried I was when I couldn't find you? I'm sorry, Mother. I was trapped under a rock and couldn't get out. Lady Daphne saved me. The Marchioness's face was full of disbelief. Then Count Milan also stepped forward to confirm. That's right. I was about to take Lady Daphne away, but she suddenly ran back. It must have been to save Lady Brisha. Yes, Mother. She even used her own body to block the dark magic bomb, insisting on sending me out. Hearing about a dark magic bomb, everyone was shocked. Count Milan nodded with a grave expression. I have encountered this kind of power before. This is definitely a death aura that can devour life. Hearing this, everyone's face changed. Could it be that Lady Daphne was facing something like that? By the time Adjutant Bolin arrived, the Duke had already come out carrying Daphne. Seeing the scarred and motionless Daphne, Bolin's face turned pale. The young lady hasn't died again, has she? She's not dead. That's great. He thought he'd have to prepare for another funeral. Suddenly, a crowd of guests who had escaped death squeezed over from behind, all talking at once, asking about Daphne's condition. Is Lady Daphne in danger? Should we call a doctor? If it's an injury from dark magic, it must be treated with holy power. Lady Daphne was injured like this to save us. Faced with everyone's concerned inquiries, Bolin wanted to say something, but the Duke had already turned to leave. Bolin frantically signaled with his eyes for him to stay. Your Grace, even if we are leaving, you should at least say a few words about what just happened. This is about the young lady, after all, the Duke said coldly. Anyone with eyes should be able to see what Daphne did. I don't need to explain. Indeed, just as the Duke said, people had already begun to spontaneously recount and confirm the miracle that had just occurred. It was Lady Daphne. She acted selflessly. She absorbed the terrifying aura of death and saved all of us. She is a true hero, but there was no joy on the Duke's face. What hero? It's just an empty title. If she had really died, such praise would be useless. He didn't linger, signaling Bolin to hurry back to the residence. And behind them, the rescued crowd still gazed reluctantly at the small figure. In the deep night sky, the moon was dim. In a dark forest, a figure in a black cloak appeared silently. Several subordinates immediately knelt down, trembling, and reported something. The figure spun around abruptly, revealing a face covered in bandages. The eyes, the only part visible, scanned the crowd sharply. You mean our plan failed? A 5-year-old girl, all alone, withstood the impact of a powerful dark magic bomb, not only successfully foiling the Dark Mage's plot, but also saved hundreds of innocent lives. Since ancient times, Dark Mages have been seen as the embodiment of evil. In order to block the flow of life energy, they did not hesitate to slaughter the white deer, a symbol of the source of white magic. And all of this brought about a large-scale purge by Duke Archean. A few survivors managed to escape and created the secret organization, Ghost. They hid in the shadows for 5 years, sharpening the blade of their magical revenge, all to announce the return of Ghost on this day and take revenge on the Empire. However, the plan failed. The leader looked down at the subordinates kneeling before him, the anger in his eyes almost bursting into flames. I said that if the mission failed, you were to end your own lives. But you actually have the nerve to come back alive. Are you looking down on me? A dark mage hurriedly prostrated himself and explained, Leader, please calm your anger. This subordinate is not afraid of death, but has important information that must be reported. Daphne Archean, the Duke's daughter who was cursed by the former leader. She absorbed the bomb's energy. The leader's pupils instantly constricted. Isn't she already dead? Inside Daphne's body, besides the former leader's curse, there is also a huge amount of death power. As long as we kill her before the curse manifests, we can retrieve this power. And the leader had already ordered Daphne's elimination a few months ago. Faced with the leader's doubt, the Dark Mage repeatedly assured him they did indeed kill Daphne at that time, but she is somehow still alive now. The leader clenched his fists, burning with rage. The Duke's family insists on opposing me. Regardless, anyone who obstructs Ghost will not be forgiven. That damned Duke killed our god and our people. They, father and daughter, must disappear together. Before his words faded, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The kneeling Dark Mages instantly let out shrill screams as their bodies quickly turned into wisps of white smoke. Your meager death power will be accepted by Ghost. Now it's time to find the body of the Calamity. After the attack, the news of the Dark Mage's reappearance caused a huge uproar. The public was in a state of panic. The public opinion was in an uproar. As the Duke, the pressure on his shoulders was far greater than just that. 3 days had passed since the incident. The imperial family was being criticized for its poor response, but they had yet to summon him. It was because Daphne, who had stopped the explosion, had not yet woken up. She hasn't opened her eyes for 3 days. The Duke looked at the elf doctor, Teddy, who was mixing a potion. It's only been 3 days, Your Grace. She will wake up soon. Please don't worry. Teddy knew that Daphne had fainted because she absorbed too much dark magic. She'll get better soon after drinking some recovery potions. If she's about to die, please tell me in advance. The Duke's words made Teddy disbelieving. What did you say? If she is going to die, we need to prepare for the funeral in advance. Looking at the Duke's nonchalant expression, Teddy just found him utterly absurd. What is wrong with this guy? Even the most cold-blooded elf wouldn't say something like that. What a trash human. The Duke quietly gazed at Daphne's pale, sleeping face. He recalled another article published in today's newspaper praising Daphne's heroic actions. Count Milan kept publishing laudatory reports. The Finch Marquis's family sent get-well gifts daily. Everyone was genuinely worried for her well-being. If it weren't for the curse that Dark Mage cast 5 years ago, which erased his emotions, he would probably be as worried about his daughter as they were right now. After all, Daphne is the only bloodline his beloved left behind in this world. But when Daphne stopped breathing for the first time, his heart was completely silent, without a single ripple. Thinking of this, even he himself felt it was cruel. He recalled that day, when Daphne had screamed hysterically at him. "Why did you give birth to me? You should have saved Mother and killed me instead. I'm gonna die anyway. Why didn't you just let me die back then? You don't care at all whether I live or die." That day, facing Daphne's accusations, the Duke couldn't say a single word. He couldn't feel any emotion at all. No sadness, no anger, no guilt. He felt nothing. Even at the moment Daphne charged at him with a sword, he actually thought that if he were to die by her sword, it might be a kind of release. However, he ultimately did not meet such an end. What a damn dream. A sudden complaint interrupted his thoughts. Daphne sat up abruptly in bed. The moment she saw the Duke by her bedside, she immediately frowned, her face full of disgust. Reality is even more damned than the dream. The Duke's face darkened. Before he could speak, he saw her lie back down. "I need a rest. You get out now." Being so bluntly shooed away by his daughter left the Duke with a dark expression. But Daphne turned back impatiently and glared at him. "What are you looking at? Just imagine how I feel seeing your face the moment I open my eyes." It's such a buzzkill. Looking at her puffed up side profile, the Duke found the corners of his mouth turning up slightly without realizing it. When he came to his senses, his eyes widened in surprise. "Did I just smile?"